How did we talk about it for this long?
We didn't. We talked
nothing.
about everything else.
There were little crocodiles
We probably
that
got
lived with
30
it
minutes
too.
of content on Polacanthus in almost 2 hours of recording.
Hi, everybody. We're the Skeleton Crew. We're exhausted and stressed because in a week we're going to be going to our first ever in-person event. We're going to be at Midwest Gaming Classic. It's a week out from this recording. That means this video will be coming out literally the first day of the con. So
Wow.
if you're in the Midwest area and you're watching this video at 11 a.m. on April 6th, what the f*** are you doing? Get over to Milwaukee. Right, you've got time. You can make it. Right, you can make it, and you should attend the event. It's going to be a lot of fun. A bunch of us are going to be there. In fact, we now know all of us are going to be there except me. I had...
He'd rather go to Indianapolis.
I have specimens I need to look at. I know. It's terrible.
As always.
He thinks he's better than you.
I do not.
He does. He said it before we started recording.
Other news from the Skeleton Crew. Enough of you have bullied me in the comments that I'm trying to grow the beard back. By the grace of my fellow crewmates here, I'm pleased to report that the beard now includes white hairs that weren't there when I shaved it off. So thank you to all of my friends.
Yay!
You're blaming us, not the self-imposed 6 months of travel.
It was only 1 month, and yes.
It only felt like 6 months.
6 weeks is what I meant.
No, I can attest that it was my presence that gave him the white hairs, not all of the insane bullshit we were doing while we were together.
He is faced with the gentleman's gambit, which is, do I show that I have white hairs in my beard, or do I reveal that I have a weak jawline, which is why all men grow beards?
I don't think I have a weak jawline.
I actually have a pretty good jawline.
The joke is that literally all of us have beards.
Oh, right.
I have a cleft chin, too, that I always forget about.
We've shown the picture. I don't recall you having a strong jawline.
Everyone do glory.
Jawline.
Nice
I don't think
jaw.
we've been mewing enough.
I actually found...
I'm mewing. Right now.
I found on my computer, I was going through images recently looking for something, and I found a photo file that's just labeled blackmailofscott.jpg. And it's really good.
I'm really happy that this is a universal thing, or at least it's something that I have of you guys as well.
If you want to see this picture, we might put it on our Patreon, which I think we should remind you at the beginning of the video that we have a patron-only Discord server, and we have a whole Patreon account. You get a lot of benefits if you join. Exclusive merch things, ability to submit questions for our Q&As, and of course access to the Skeleton Crewmates Discord server, which all patrons get. So you get that with, you get Discord access from $3 all the way up to $100 a month. It is really important for us that we get that kind of support. So we really thank all of our patrons. We're going to thank them again at the end of the video. And if you want to see this terrible picture of Scott, we'll put it in one of our exclusive channels there. And maybe it depends on if Scott pisses any of the rest of us off now. So the reason we're all not talking about a dinosaur right now is that the dinosaur we're going to talk about today is Polacanthus. And we don't have a lot to say about it. And I know the video is going to be an hour and a half long somehow. Anyway, the person prematurely aging because of the efforts that we undergo to both do science and produce science communication content is Dr. James Napoli. He's an extremely tired man. The boy is EP. And this is the first of 2 videos we need to record tonight. That's me, by the way, Dr. James Napoli, the EP boy.
Okay. I don't even have anything to say to that. Jesus Christ.
No bit.
No, there's no bit. I think the only thing I have a half-formed bit that's it's the benefit of having light hair is no one knows how stressed I am. Don't mind the fact that my boyfriend came home from work today and I was surrounded by a laptop, my water bottle, an open bottle of ibuprofen, and a half drank iced coffee. Don't analyze any of that.
Environmental storytelling.
I'm a paleontologist. I won't analyze anything.
You might be able to tell based on those objects, because some of you may have been in this position before, that I'm a PhD candidate at the American Museum of Natural History. to be clear, to clarify, the situation is not necessarily because of the American Museum of Natural History part of that sentence. It's about the PhD candidate part of that sentence.
Well, hi, everybody. My name is Scott Johnston. I'm the vertebrate paleontology fossil preparator and technician at Harvard University's Museum of Comparative Zoology. And my really weird, unpopular opinion is that I'm actually kind of looking forward to getting a little bit gray. I think that I would look good, kind of grizzled. So I have a couple gray hairs, and I'm like, you know what? Kind of here for it. A little bit for the vibe.
Hi, I'm Alex Rubenstahl. As you can tell by the level of insanity my hair is looking at, I'm also a PhD candidate at Yale University, which now, by the time that you watch this video, viewers, has a lovely new renovated museum. I've seen it twice now. It's great. It's super cool, and it's free, and you should come to New Haven and see it when you can. And I simply don't, I will never age, because I'm always 109. I have a lot of opinions about the Coolidge the administration. And, you know, once they started putting color and sound in movies, I wasn't interested. So, yeah, I don't know where this bit's going. Someone else start talking.
All right, Grandpa.
What?
My name's Dalton Meyer. I'm also a PhD candidate at Yale University. I am surprised, frankly, that I don't have any gray hairs yet. But we'll see how much longer that lasts. And I will say, come see the new Peabody. It's very cool, exciting, and free. Don't come for like a month if you're going to be doing travel, because they're doing timed entrance, and I think all of the tickets are sold out. They're not bought, but they're all reserved. So don't come to be disappointed. Make sure that you'll be able to get in.
As Kamala Harris would say, don't come.
Do not come.
Something about a coconut tree and life's context. I don't know. Together, I do know.
We're the skeleton.
We're the skeleton crew.
Do you know what I did the other day? This was my grocery haul immediately upon returning from a month of travel. I went to Trader Joe's and I bought like food. And then on the way back from Trader Joe's, I went to a different grocery store with a pharmacy. And I walked in and I bought not one, not two, but three separate painkillers for my head. I was like, all right, in case the headaches are from allergies, I got Claritin. And in case they're my sinuses relating to that, I got Advil Cold and Sinus. And then because ibuprofen, acetaminophen, and caffeine are my three favorite things in the world, I also got Excedrin. Which the Excedrin is really, that's the best I've ever had. That's great.
That's what it is?
That's what it is, yeah. It's just three different natural painkillers.
God damn.
Or
yummy.
Well, naturals, you know what I mean. Anyway,
let's release some Polacanthus.
Yeah, let's.
Here they come.
Go.
Shit, what up?
Merrily they go along.
Verily.
Merrily they trundle.
I don't even know if this is trundling.
This is not a good release
It's an
animation.
animal.
It is a good animal, though.
It is a good animal.
I like the sound.
I kind of like the weird, sounds it makes.
Have we now had 3 straight weeks of ankylosaurs?
Yep.
We have, yes.
That's odd.
Yeah. The wheel, it has patterns, but it will not continue this pattern because this is the last ankylosaur in the game.
Oh,
God in heaven has forsaken us.
Well, thank God. Hey, what does Polacanthus mean?
It means many prickles or many thorns from a poly and a cantha.
Huh.
So I kind of dig that. And then the second part of the name is it's like paravertebra, right? Or
that's
Minmi.
That was never mind. I was doing.
This is fox eye.
Oh, okay. Then
Foxy.
Right. So pole means spike or
poly. No, it's
pole for
poly.
poly.
Oh my God,
Poly.
canthus means oive.
Yeah.
Oive.
Yeah, like acanthodians.
Right.
My stupid ass.
I thought. Wait, Dalton. I thought acanthodians were people who had multiple sexual partners.
So, I discovered a fun little story in doing some reading on this guy that has to do with its name here. I was intrigued by one little throwaway sentence in the Wikipedia page that said that Polacanthus was not the first name that was proposed for this critter. It was actually the first name that was proposed by poet laureate Alfred Lord Tennyson, who in having a meeting with Richard Owen, they were just buddies. That proposed, as it is written, it's in here. It says Tennyson proposed Eucanthus vectianus, but the name was ultimately rejected.
There is more, not drama, but there is more uncertainty around the name of Polacanthus beyond why it's not called Eucanthus, which is who named it Polacanthus. And who gets the authorial attribution. So for those unaware, we often think of a scientific name as a genus and a species, and that's true. But the full scientific name is genus, species, author name, who described it, year in which it was published. And Polacanthus, if you'll note, if you look it up on Wikipedia, is attributed Owen Vita Anonymous 1865. And that's because the name Polacanthus appears in publications from 1865 that were published anonymously. Its name is Polacanthus foxi, after Reverend William Fox. Some people think that it's possible that William Fox published these anonymously so that he could name it after himself without the stigma and kind of no of don't name things after yourself.
Was that even a stigma at the time?
I believe so.
Okay. Yeah. I'm like, this was 1865. Yeah.
Cope didn't do it. And if anyone was going to do it.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it is said that in those publications, I believe it's called out that it says Owen mentioned the name in a talk, and then this may have been a published abstract from the talk. It's a little unclear, and so at one point the name was attributed to Huxley because Huxley actually publishes the name and writes it down in a piece of published work that's attributed to him. However, Huxley in doing so attributes it to Owen. It's not entirely clear, I think, ever when Owen named it Polacanthus foxi, but in the 90s, someone was finally hey, there's a provision in the ICZN that's for these really old names, or this can happen sometimes. If the publication author is unclear, but the publication makes it very clear who the author should be, then we just use that.
Interesting.
And so we now attribute it to Owen.
Well, neat.
That's a nice little bit of taxonomy.
This as well is slightly corroborated by in 1881 Hulke wrote the first description of Polacanthus.
Wait,
and he actually
the Hulke?
Hulke.
Oh, okay.
He smashed it.
He smashed it.
Hulke. Yeah. Well, speaking of the reason, it's actually really funny. The reason why he wrote a description of it was literally the second paragraph is much shattered by being very hastily dug out and since much damaged by the accidental breakages and disassociations scarcely avoidable in the absence of suitable place for their safekeeping. There's risk for these remains becoming before long lost to the paleontologist. In view of this not improbable eventuality, I venture to offer these notes and stuff, which I think is really, really funny.
Really funny.
Because you idiots can't quit breaking it, I might as well write about it before you lose it.
Yeah, you guys aren't housing it and keep it properly and keep breaking it, so I'm gonna write it up for you guys. Seriously.
But so it was not Hulke who smashed, but saved.
Delightful.
Professor Hulke in this one. But so he actually says in here that Professor Owen, to whom Mr. Fox showed some of these fossils soon after their discovery, suggested the name indicated by them be Polacanthus, many-spined, P. foxi, and foxi, and thus named Mr. Fox, and thus this name Mr. Fox adopted in an account of his discovery read by him at the next meeting of the British Association.
Was he a fabulous Mr. Fox?
He might have been.
Reverend Fox.
Yeah, it was a fantastic Mr. Fox. He got that wrong.
God damn it. Sorry.
Trying to open this article, but it did invoke to me two images, both of which are just the meme of Smart Hulk giving Ant-Man the taco, or
oh right, Avengers. Yeah.
But it's him giving up like a thing of glue to the Polacanthus fossil, or him giving the Polacanthus fossil to like the science. It's like here you go.
If I may, for a moment, change the subject barely, but that one, the Avengers movie that happens in with the Hulk. Mm-hmm. Which one is that? That's
Endgame.
Endgame. Okay. When I couldn't. That was so funny to me. Like they give him like glasses and a sweater. It's like they're trying to show that he's like an academic, but in like a porn, where it's like, how do we communicate that he's bookish, or like just a very bad movie? It's like the episode of It's Always Sunny where Mac puts on reading glasses, the Dennis System episode, so he seems well read. It's so I couldn't believe it.
It's really funny. I remember reading the leaks of that movie because I don't give a shit what happens in the Marvel franchise, and I'm fine with knowing everything that happens in the movie before I go in.
Sure.
And I remember reading the leaks, and it was a couple months before, and it was some leak about like Hulk gets smart and becomes Professor Hulk, and I just remember closing the app thing like, that's the fucking stupidest thing I've ever heard. Okay. All right, I guess these leaks are fake.
That was not even that bad.
It happened in the movie. I was like, oh god, it's going to be as stupid as. No, it's not. It's not one of the worst movies. I just didn't give a shit.
No. Yeah.
Right, and I just periodically I'm just baffled by the phrases like Professor Hulk that can exist and be said, but in all seriousness, by people.
It's Professor Hulk.
This is how I imagine people who don't like Dune hear us talking about Dune.
Wrong.
Well, it's like when Paul calls the sandworm and rides it in, to assault the Galactic Emperor Shaddam IV. I'm like, okay, all right.
No, you can make it sound smarter by using the very specific weird terms for it, because then someone has to look up what a
maker is.
Yeah.
Well, that's like
S.H.I.E.L.D.
the meme I saw going around was, good thing Dune 2 is impossible to spoil because nothing makes sense whether or not you use the real words for them or not.
That's a good point.
Plenty makes sense. What are you talking about?
Well, if you already know what's going to happen, yeah, it's just like to someone who has not read the book.
Oh yes.
Like, to someone who is completely
if you have the appropriate context.
Sorry, I heard what I could have interpreted as possibly even the mildest criticism of Dune Part 2, and I immediately went into defensive mode.
It's not criticism. It's just
No, I know.
It's accurate. Like you try to explain anything.
No. Rest assured, Amelia's drank the blue Kool-Aid.
I did, yeah.
I remember watching Dune Part 1 with my girlfriend, and it was the every white nerd boyfriend's dream, because she paused the movie and said, wait, I need you to explain the world building here to me. And I was just like, decades of training for this moment.
Was that the first time you said I love you?
No, don't worry.
They say that the internet and has set unrealistic standards for men, but
right,
she's an exception.
It was the moment I was just like, I've been preparing for this for my whole life.
Let me get my spreadsheet.
Because she's never read the book, so she was just like, what the hell is going on? And I was like, oh, let me all right, so the Bene Gesserit.
Here's the video where the entire lore of Dune is explained using train rail companies of the 20th century as an analog.
Wait, is that a real video?
Alex, is that a real video?
No, but I know. You got excited, didn't you?
Two people get your version.
Yeah, I did.
You see the
what?
The Sardaukar are basically the Pacific Union.
The Sardaukar are basically Pinkertons.
Oh no! We could do it.
We could.
Do you like Dune because the worms are basically trains? Is there some kind of subconscious connection happening there?
Living train.
Why I like Dune? I don't think so. I mean, listen, I do like trains.
We know.
No, I know. I'm just wondering.
I know you all know. Listen, this is the last time she was visiting me, and we did do a date where we went to the only or one of two model train stores in Raleigh, and just didn't buy anything and just walked around. All I'm saying is I do like trains. Okay.
We've learned about its name. We've learned a lot about the name Polacanthus, but we haven't learned much about what Polacanthus is. What is Polacanthus?
It's a dinosaur.
Is this a segue to the phylogeny?
It could be.
It sure is.
Is that the phylogeny signal I see in the sky?
What would the phylogeny signal look like? Is it like Darwin's tree?
Yeah, like a branching tree, simplified. Yeah. You got to put it on like the top of a big police floodlight. Well,
kind of just looks like the floodlight's broken.
It's
it's cracked.
It's the TNT triangle.
No.
Okay. I was like, oh, it's a symbol. It's simple. No, fine.
Yeah, but if you put a triangle on a like, oh, it's the triangle in the sky. What?
That's how you call the triad.
Tree is either. They're like, oh, some weird bracket.
Well, Alex will know.
Yeah, I'll know. If I see it, I'll know. If I see someone's showing a triangle in the sky, like what?
How do you
that symbol wasn't for anybody who wanted to
it
dress up like a bat.
Yeah,
and
it's also
we need a Batman of some sort.
It's also immediately obvious what the it's the bat. What's Gotham City, the Batman. A triangle could be literally anything. There are so many things.
What if a city reverse engine saw Gotham? They're like, okay, Gotham has this thing. They put up a bat signal, and then a Batman comes and fights crime and helps the city. What if they just what would be cool to help our city? And they just come up with a signal first and hope someone
shows up
dressed as that thing.
The balanced budget man. The police reform signal. It's more effort than they've actually put into it in any major city. Hey, everybody. We're returning from a prolonged cut because we all have, we're all just quirked up guys sometimes, and we all say some funky things. Peace. You know what else is quirked up? Polacanthus. And we're going to talk about where it goes in the great tree of life. This is our last ankylosaur until From Software add perhaps further ankylosaurs to the game.
From Software?
Since when does FromSoft make this game?
Sorry, then it might be good. No, I'm kidding. We enjoy this game. Frontier. It started with an F, right? Okay, yeah. Jesus. Yes, until Frontier adds possibly further ornithischians to the game, which I wouldn't be mad at. I like a little Stegurus. He's a cutie. Stegurus is the spiky tail one, right?
Yeah, cool. With the Mapwahidal.
Yeah. See our earlier video where we discussed this. I think Minmai.
Yes, last week's.
That one. Okay, anyway.
Yes, because there's a chance that Conversaurus might have had
now, if you have watched last week's video, there's going to be a lot of repeat here because this is an relatively early diverging ankylosaur. So, just a quick refresher, within ornithischian dinosaurs, the plant-eating ones that aren't sauropods. 3 big groups.
Or some of the derived theropods.
The armored group, and the group with large osteoderms, are the thyreophorans. They also evolved these kind of broad hips, which we will see kind of the armoring of in Polacanthus. They have 2 major groups, stegosaurs, ankylosaurs. We are in ankylosaurs. And then there are the ankylosaurids. These are the club-tailed guys. There are early diverging things, possibly. And then nodosaurs, which are maybe a self-contained monophyletic group sister to ankylosaurs, or perhaps a assemblage of groups of relatively furthering distant relationships. One of these are Polacanthines. Polacanthines have been considered, I think, early on to be outside of both nodosaurids and ankylosaurids, but in more recent analyses, been found to be sister to nodosaurs. And in the most recent analysis, I think they're still found to be relatively early diverging. Now that nodosaurids is broken up into kind of a paraphyletic group, still relatively early diverging for that. That's basically it. It's a little bit in flux, but some of the earliest some of the oldest ankylosaurs we have in the fossil record are probably Polacanthines. So the Jurassic, I think, Gargoyleosaurus, or is it Mymoropelta that's a Polacanthine?
Mymoropelta.
Well, neither of them, according to what I'm looking at.
Really?
Recent.
Yeah. So what is the most recent one again?
The Raven. The Raven one does not find either of those to be closely related to Polacanthus, but they have been in the past.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So I'm thinking of older analysis.
So like Gastonia.
Yeah, Gastonia is a famous Polacanthine. That's it. They look a lot like Nodosaurus and Sauropelta because they're probably pretty closely related to them.
Yeah. And I mean, this is definitely like kind of what a primitive ankylosaur is looking like, right? Only like, I mean,
with a big exception.
You mean the big shield?
Yeah.
I mean, I think probably the Gondwanan things are probably more primitive.
Well, yeah, but I mean, what I do wonder though is if those are like the kind of pattern where you get like a primitive late surviving thing that then gets weird.
No, sure, but like their gait is different. Like the mediolateral development of their sacrum is not, I don't think, as like extreme. I wouldn't be surprised if those are like, because I don't know, like early stegosaurs, it's a little different, so they're a little quirked up.
This is fair. I think. I mean, also, if we're talking about like some of these early things that are approaching this shape are like Gargoyleosaurus and Mymoropelta are like quite early. Like these are living in the Jurassic.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Well, the only thing that I kind of think is really interesting about Polacanthus, because I think very little is interesting about Polacanthus.
Why are you being so mean?
I'm not trying to be mean. It's just like ankylosaurs are a group of dinosaurs that I've never been particularly interested in. And, what interests me is usually the tail club. So
fair.
These, have always struck me as kind of boring. But
cringe.
I mean, not that they're not interesting in their own right. But
this is a Walking with Dinosaur alum. Have some respect.
That's true. Well, it's kind of what I was getting at is... And a lot of this is based on what I've seen from Jim Kirkland in social media and what he's kind of talked to me about at times. There seem to be a lot of these kinds of animals, like kind of distributed all over the place in the early Cretaceous. And like the identification of these kinds of animals is one of the hallmarks of like a Wealden type fauna, as they put it, which is like this early Cretaceous, the kind of fauna that's first documented in scientific history in Britain. Right, but we're beginning to understand that a lot of the like early Cretaceous of Western North America was fundamentally a very similar kind of place. This is probably something that's happening throughout the Northern Hemisphere. And the reason that I bring this up with regard to Walking with Dinosaurs is I think they really kind of depict this with, the iguanodon on both sides of the channel and just like kind of using that animal fauna. It may not have been the same species or genera, but like generally it seems like there's a lot of these iguanodonts. I think they're increasingly known now from Spain as well. And there seem to be a lot of these Polacanthus-like ankylosaurs.
Yeah. I really like in Walking with Dinosaurs, the Polacanthus with the iguanodon herd. And I just,
that's actually a beautiful design of it too.
It's a great design, and it's just a lovely like pairing that it just sticks in my mind of Polacanthus and iguanodon. Like they're buds.
Oh, it's a class. It's classic.
Yeah. I want to talk just... Oh, sorry. May I just mention one more thing?
Yeah,
go ahead.
Or do you have? Is this relevant right now, Alex?
I mean, I was just going to ask. So the Wealden, is that this is what's being excavated on the Isle of Wight, or is that separate?
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yes, it's because Polacanthus is from the Isle of Wight.
Tight.
Well, then
all right. Sorry. That was it. That was all.
No,
I had a query.
Yeah. Oh, of course. Yeah. I mean, the early Cretaceous is. I think fewer people appreciate than they should to what degree it is kind of a continuation of faunal trends that you see in the Jurassic. Like we know in our heads what a late Jurassic North American fauna looks like, right? And we know if you like dinosaurs, that is. If you don't know anything about dinosaurs, you probably don't know what that means.
You probably also haven't gotten this far into the video.
You probably haven't, yeah. But I mean, in case you're confused, like lots of big sauropods, these, non-hadrosaur or non-hadrosauroid ornithopods, things we'd normally call iguanodonts, and some armored dinosaurs. In the Jurassic, we depict a lot more stegosaurs. for reasons I don't understand, nobody is ever really willing to draw Gargoyleosaurus or Mimorapelta or these other like known Jurassic ankylosaurs, which are like...
Yeah, I never see them.
I often forget that they're like animals. Like these are from the Morrison Formation. Like these are not from weird places that are not depicted a lot artistically.
Weird places. Not America.
Well, but you know what I mean? It's not from like a stratum that's not explored. You know what I mean? It's not, and it's like, it's from the Morrison. It is the classic late Jurassic terrestrial fauna.
Yes.
And I feel to some degree like people maybe are overlooking them because they feel so Cretaceous.
Yeah.
And
it's interesting that like I can barely think of like any artwork that's ever depicted like an Allosaurus fighting an ankylosaur because it feels so anachronistic, like, even though it happened.
Yeah. It's like how there are names that people don't use in like medieval period pieces because they sound too modern, but like they would have been around, like Kathy. I think
Tiffany is the big example.
Is the famous one. Yeah, like there'll never be a medieval story with someone named Tiffany, despite that being a name that is that
was used. Yeah. Or I mean, there was the discourse on Twitter recently. I'm sure you all saw it. Like, there's some show on Apple TV about the Lincoln assassination.
Yeah.
And Patton Oswalt's in it, and he calls John Wilkes Booth a creep. And some blue check numbskull was just like, you know.
But you repeat yourself.
Right. Yeah, I know. Well, so this guy was like, oh, you know, it is so, you know, evident of the, or, you know, it evidences the lack of care and attention put into the show.
Well, he did the ultimate.
This word.
He did the ultimate, definitely not a lie defense, which was he said his wife noticed it.
Oh, right.
It's like, yeah, my wife said this. I'm just communicating her feelings.
Right, of course, on her behalf on Twitter. And like, creep is a word that has been used pejoratively since I believe the year 1436, as was established by a commenter.
That offhand.
I know all words. No, somebody tweeted about it.
Okay.
There was discourse. I'll take this discourse over the DoorDash discourse.
Yeah, I mean, this is much better discourse. But yeah, like, things feel anachronistic in...
That's when Radiohead came out with that song. 14 whatever.
Thou is time. Count as an ein, like I'm sure.
So I think, like, one thing that is, I think, known in paleo circles, but has not yet, I think, percolated down into a lot of art, is that, like, every group of theropods had originated by the mid-Jurassic.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, we have... Anchiornis is recovered as being a very early diverging avialid. So all of theropod evolution to that point, all these major lineages are around and established by the Middle Jurassic. And
they
so
probably don't look like much, some of them, but...
Right, we don't know exactly what they would have looked like, but there have to be, like, I mean, we know of one...
We know what some of them look like.
Right. And we have, like, I'm trying to think of a word that's not insulting here. Hold on.
We have Jurassic allosaurs and tyrannosaurs, compsognathids,
and we have a postulated troodontid. Yeah, I think it is like I think they make a good case for Hesperornithoides being a troodontid. I could see it being something else. Right? Maybe others. Certainly not hinting anything. Watch the space.
Look out.
But like there must be dromaeosaurs, and they must be fairly diverse if the lineage makes it all the way to the end of the Cretaceous, right? Like it's not like there's just one on Earth somewhere. And you don't really find them, and we don't really know what they would have looked like. But I think that the late Jurassic would have looked a lot more Cretaceous than people think. And similarly, the early Cretaceous is a lot more Jurassic than people think. Like, you know, the top predators, as evidenced by the discovery of S.H.I.E.L.D, like the top predators in North America until about 100 million years ago are like big allosaurs. S.H.I.E.L.D is, I think, an allosaur. It's been theorized to be a megaraptoran, but I don't think that's correct.
Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't disagree, but right, like yeah, the very early Cretaceous, I'd say until like the mid-Aptian is fairly Jurassic. It serves Jurassic. And when I say it serves Jurassic, I should say it serves like late Jurassic, because there's a lot of stuff that happens during the Jurassic. Late Jurassic, yeah. But I don't know. There's kind of like the early Cretaceous, as it is treated, is an enormous gulf of time.
That's true.
See discourse about the Middle Cretaceous, which should be real and is good. But right, like, I mean, I don't want to say novel, but like there are theropod groups that we simply like, right? Spinosaurs seemingly come out of nowhere,
Right.
which is a novel part of the fauna. There's a lot of changes that are happening in ornithischians. We might, but even the allosaurs, right? I mean, like those early and those later early Cretaceous allosaurs, they're all like Carcharodontosaurs, while the Jurassic ones are like Metriorhynchids and stuff. Like they're similar, but
Metriorhynchids? Metriacanthosaurs?
Metriacanthosaurs. I'm thinking of crocs. Oy, oy vey, schmea.
Alex is always thinking of crocs.
But yeah, I mean, like similar, but I think they're like, without like a major catastrophe, as different as you would expect like a fauna separated by like 40 million years to be in that. They are different.
Yes. Oh, no, that's a fair point.
It rhymes.
And, like, it rhymes. Right. And it is, I guess
like
what
poetry.
I'm saying more is like, yeah, it's like poetry. I think people fail to realize how kind of unique the late Cretaceous, especially in Laramidia, looks relative to other things, which is, I guess, more what I'm saying. Like,
Oh yeah.
you get the same vibe of animal, even though they are changing quite a bit from like the late Jurassic all the way through like the mid Cretaceous.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, like at about 100 million years ago, and from then on, you get like big ceratopsians, big
Tyrannosaurs show up.
hadrosaurs, tyrannosaurs, the absence of sauropods in the fauna. Sauropods continue on elsewhere, of course, but like a lot of these changes seem to happen pretty rapidly.
Sauropods seem to continue on literally everywhere else.
Well, right. No, I mean, whatever happens to them is a unique thing. And like, while the fossil record is very incomplete, scratching your bingo cards, sauropod teeth are diagnostic, and not a single sauropod tooth has been found in Western North America from the late Cretaceous. Like, you would expect one to show up in a microfossil assemblage.
Are they common
At
in the
some
site Alamosaurus was found in?
Sauropod teeth?
Yeah.
I'm not aware of that. I'm not sure about that.
That's what I would need to know to be more convinced.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm given the record in Canada. You haven't seen it. I've seen it.
I've seen things you people wouldn't believe.
I would be very, very surprised if we've missed every potential. You know what I mean? They do so much surveying of the microfossils. They do so much of everything. Like,
Sure.
They're definitely not around in the Campanian.
But I mean, like,
I'm not talking about like
where is
taxon
Alamosaurus
count.
coming from?
Probably coming from South America, right?
No, isn't South America isolated by that point?
I think it's reconnecting in the Maastrichtian.
No, I think it's been isolated for a while.
Well,
am I tripping, dog?
No, you're right. It's isolated. It does well.
Right, and there's like
I'm actually
fauna
not sure.
exchanges with like Mongolia, which have sauropods and titanosaurs.
So it's possible it's coming over
Maybe
from
they're
Asia.
just passing through.
Well, okay, now that we've finished the phylogeny, we could talk about one of the most distinctive features of Polacanthids, if that is your real name. It's the big ol' sacral shield there.
Oh yes.
I know that Amelia really, really disliked Ankylosaurus having like big ol' plates of bands of like external armor, and Polacanthus was like, cool, I'm gonna do it anyways.
Like, what bothers me is that it's unfinished. Like, commit to the bit. Either have a shield or don't. Make a shell or don't. This with the seams, I don't like it. And this model has like, it's like a gaping black hole whenever it turns. Like, I dislike it.
You heard it here first. Jesus Christ. First, folks. Amelia Zietlow is calling out Polacanthus.
For being
who would win?
Indeed.
Stupid. Well,
watch our Q&A video to find out who.
Amelia would.
She is a deer rifle. I believe in her.
It's armor plate.
Not in the eyeball.
Not everywhere. Oh Jesus!
I've got a scope on the rifle,
Deadeye.
and I'm not I'm not a bad shot.
You could walk up to this thing.
I could.
Anyway.
Well, okay. So it's got that big old sacral shield, which actually, I think that this is one of the few inaccuracies with the model. It seems like it is a very, very good model that I actually like. I find aesthetically very pleasing. I think it's a really cool critter. And I guess air quotes inaccuracy on it is something that I'm not even 100%. Well, sorry, let me phrase this differently. The air quotes inaccuracy on it would make it look worse as well, which is I don't actually think that it had the lateral spines on the sacral shield.
Jesus
as far
Christ.
as I know, that thing just had I believe that it was phrased as it was like 4 rows of tubercles.
You're right. It looks like a
on either side.
carapace.
It really like this. All of the skeletals of Polacanthids look so weird because it's just like normal ankylosaur, and then a chunk of glyptodont, and then it's just like not mentioned. It's really, really bizarre. But yeah,
stupid thing isn't a chimera.
No, there's a lot of these have been found.
Like with enough together to know that the shield is not one thing and the spike's another thing.
Yes,
that's disgusting.
If anything, actually, there's like that was most of what was found of Polacanthus was the shield, the tail, and some vertebrae before it.
It's got a very nice finished edge on the front.
Yeah, it does.
It kind of like scallops. Like there's like not scallops, but it curves inward more than this depiction would lead you to believe too.
Oh
no, I'm sorry, I was looking it upside down. Never mind.
It's weird, and if anything, I think that the spikes or the flat spikes on the tail / body, I think they're a slightly incorrect shape. They look a little too Borealopelta spiky, and this was actually something I was chatting with Dalton about before the rest of the crew joined us. The Polacanthus plates or spikes, plates, whatever you want to call them, that are preserved. Golly gee, they look like stegosaur plates. They look exactly like stegosaur plates.
So this picture on Wikipedia that has the holotype, it has spikes placed along the shield. Is that just being displayed dumb, or does it...
I think it's being displayed like that because they were not in articulation with that shield.
I see.
But I can imagine that might be where they got the inspiration to put them on it, like in the this picture here.
Look at that image I just threw in chat. That looks like a stegosaur plate.
I'm looking. I'm considering.
It's more hooked, but
is it the thing? I'm looking at the.
I'm kind of agreeing.
Looking at the illustration and kind of can see it on the fossil. Does this stupid thing have ossified tendons between the shell and the ribs? Is that what that is?
Wait, what do you see?
On the illustration, ventral to the right of the spine, there's these things that look like ossified tendons in between the ribs and the shell.
Ooh. Those might just be displaced from like the top of the vertebral column, I wonder. Like they just slid laterally.
It's disgusting, but I mean, no matter what they are, what are they doing there?
Well, all of these guys have ossified tendons, right? I'm just struggling because I can't really make them out. I can't really make them out on the picture of the fossil, and I'm wondering if the lithograph is misinterpreting them.
You can see them right above the hip.
Yeah, like above the sacral vertebrae there.
Oh, yeah.
No, it's like whatever is going on.
You don't like it?
No, I don't like it one bit. No.
I'm sorry.
No, I don't like.
So,
in terms of design, like the design of this animal, it's bad. This is not on Frontier. This is just a horrible animal.
The design of the real animal is what you're saying.
The design of the real animal is evidence that there is no intelligent design because it was not
Frontier goes with God.
Frontier did a good job. God didn't.
No, if the entire animal were like the back half or like the front half, I would hate it if it was like the front half because then it's kind of segmented, which is the other problem. The back half is fine. Like I kind of like the chunky tail thing happening. It reminds me of something. I can't place it. But no, absolutely not.
So another interesting thing that I saw when I was on the topic of armor, when I was looking through just the literature about Polacanthids in general, is that there's a paper in 2010 by Heihachi, Kenneth Carpenter, and some others about its function and evolution of ankylosaur dermal armor. And they say something in there that is really weird about Polacanthus. It's that they say Polacanthid spikes show thin, compact bone with less collagen fibers than in the spikes of nodosaurids and the spikes and clubs of ankylosaurids. And they basically are proposing in there that they were less good. Actually, no, they actually say it a little bit later. These results imply that the bone strengths of polacanthid spines and ankylosaur plates are lower than the spikes and clubs of other ankylosaurs, indicating that they may have been used more probably as display or thermoregulation than as weapons.
So it's made of glass. Every day he breaks his arm, or every morning he breaks his arms. And
I would take the results of any of these functional studies with a tremendous grain of salt. Functional morphology is hard. There's some of it that I think is very real and very rigorous. Like the stuff that Armida Monopsida is doing is like field changing, very, very cool stuff. But paleontologists have a tendency to say, could this bone withstand the impact of, say, like a container ship traveling at 9 knots? If it could not, it was a display structure.
Yeah.
And could Spinosaurus swim at the speed and grace of a tuna?
Well,
if
right.
not, it was terrestrial.
Exactly. I mean, it was like that fucking documentary, right? The Truth About Killer Dinosaurs, where they were like, let's build a Triceratops skull. First of all, we're going to build it out of titanium, which does not have the material properties of bone, but we're going to ignore that. Then we're going to put it on the front of a car and drive it at full speed into a brick wall. And the skull broke. And they're like, well, that shows that they didn't use their horns offensively. I'm like, no, it does not. No, it doesn't. This was the first time I was a child. And I was just like, wait a minute. This documentary is completely full of
to test whether human hands could actually sustain the impact of being used as a punch, we've strapped one to a rocket and we're firing it into the sun.
Dalton said busted, but for the record, if the Mythbusters were to test this, they would have made a Frankenstein monster skull because they did use real.
It would have been out of meat.
They would have done a good job because yes,
they would have done a good job, yeah, and made a horrific thing, whatever that may be, because like. The two specific things that come to mind were the turkey drop and the turkey drop and the muzzle flash on a pistol.
Oh no! It's the expansion of gases around the gap in the cylinder of a revolver.
Yes, thank you. I was struggling for the words, but yeah, it's that one. And I'm not going to say what they do for that. You can find that out. Watch the show. A, it's the masterpiece in science communication. B, it's they use correct materials to test things.
See, on that note, I'll also put in the decompression in the diving suit.
I was thinking of that too.
That was great.
That's to interject briefly is like I hadn't seen. I was going every now and then. I put it on like in the background. I love that show, and the first run of doing that like 2 years ago, I think. I hadn't seen it in a long time. That episode came on, and I genuinely could not remember what happened. And I was destroyed the rest of the day. I couldn't think of anything else because it's so messed up. And for those of you here who have not seen it, I will look on YouTube to find the clip of it. But the gist is they make a diver analog in an old-timey diver suit and cut the pressure to see what happens, like undersea.
I've seen the video about Delta P situations.
Oh, with the crab.
Yeah,
crab. Anyways, sorry.
Anyway, no, all I'm saying is like, I can't stand this thing of like, this armor would not have been as good as other things. It was not used as armor.
Also, things can be multiple things.
Things can be multiple things. Also, it has to be transitional at some point. These are early diverging ankylosaurs.
Paleontologists look at any animal challenge impossible.
Bringing it back.
Around
let's see.
town.
Do we have anything else that we want to say about the particular design? Colors.
I like the colors.
I like totals.
I like Toidles as well, which is why I actually kind of like this guy, because he's like
He's a
1/4 Toidle.
The head, I presume they kind of based the head off Gastonia, because that is, I think, the only Polacanthine I could think of with a head, unless Gargoriosaurus, I think, has some
I don't
cranial
think it
material.
does, but I don't know.
But also, I think they may have kind of made it a little too tapering in the beak, like to a
fair.
point compared to what I can see from Gastonia. But this is kind of a nitpick.
Gastonia has a dainty little beak at the end there.
Huh.
Yeah, but
Like,
it ends pretty
here.
bluntly, like from top down.
Yes, correct.
This isn't that bad.
But if you actually, so if you look at the actual beak, it's very small right at the end of the snout.
Yeah, no, I'd say the whole head tapers more than the beak itself tapers, though.
Yes.
Right, it's that the skull is much more of a triangle shape. It's like an equilateral triangle.
Yeah. This is just not quite Gastonia, but also we don't have a Polacanthus skull, so. Because there's only one specimen of Polacanthus. There are other things have been referred to it, and those referrals have been rejected.
Rejected.
And then we're in the same enclosure I used for the Iguanodon episode, because it's the Wessex formation. And that's where Mantellisaurus is from, and there's also stuff referred to Iguanodon from there, so.
And Baryonyx will be here as well in the future.
Maybe something.
There's a happening place.
You're spoiling that. We're going to talk about Baryonyx in the future.
I should be shot.
I'm always saying this.
And actually, I hate to dampen everyone's fun. I don't think Baryonyx will be here.
Really?
No, if we had Ceratoseucops.
We
I thought
can
Baryonyx was also from Isle of Wight.
also.
Because there was the Baryonyx that had Iguanodon baby in its stomach.
I mean, there was almost certainly overlap between Iguanodon Tid thing and Baryonyx. I'm not sure off the top of my head. Also, remember, audience, the entire hashtag spoiler culture is a marketing scheme, and don't fall for it.
You're
Sometimes it's
parroting
okay.
my conspiracy theory, Alex.
That's not true, Alex.
It's definitely a marketing scheme.
Spoilers.
Well,
They're
yeah, I'm
taking
falling
advantage
for
of
it.
it now, but I think it was a natural thing that happened initially with the rise of social media.
I think it was encouraged by the movie studios to bring everybody else into the theaters like as soon as possible.
I don't doubt it was encouraged.
I've come around on it, Jimbo. I decried you before, but
you did. You made fun of me for this, and yet now you agree.
I'm coming around on it.
Yeah.
I've been watching a lot of movie trailers from the 70s, and they do just kind of
And here's what
they're
happens
like,
next.
anyway, here's what happens at the end. You're gonna want to see it anyway.
Oh yeah,
Right.
like the trailer for Castaway that very famously says that he gets off the island.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But you see it.
It is like this may be me personally. Sometimes I read a book and then I see a movie that's based on the book. And I don't think any worse of the movie for the fact that I know what's going to happen plot wise.
That's
And
different
I also
because you
feel that
still
way
got
when
to
I-
experience the book without knowing what was going to happen.
I also feel that way when I watch a movie that I've spoiled for myself with leaks. Like, I don't think that I enjoyed the last Avengers movie any less for knowing that they would win or whatever the fuck happened in that movie. I don't remember. There was 2.5 hours of flashing lights and color and keys being dangled in front of my face. And then I clapped at the end for some reason.
You clapped at the movie theater?
Robert Downey Jr. died. It was
joke.
sad.
Oh, right. He said, I am Iron Man, but slowly in front of a green screen.
And then his pseudoscience psycho wife was sad about it or something.
And then they had a scene at the end for his funeral where the actors weren't told what they were filming, and they were all green screened into
Wait, is
the
that
scene
true?
separately. Yeah, I don't think any of them knew. They were just like, stand here and look kind of sad.
Oh dear.
And they were all separately composited in. Anyway,
All right. Let's manage the
let's
Marvel
rank this.
hate.
Yeah.
Also, you're right to get us back on topic. You're right, Dalton. Actually, those Spinosaurs were originally thought to be Baryonyx, and then were reclassified to Raparovenator and Ceratoseucops.
Yeah, Baryonyx is from Surrey.
Yep.
Why would you lie?
I'm going to bring us back off topic for a moment, though. I'm sorry. No, all I'm saying is that I think that there are some stories where, like, I think that it is good to learn about the story as you experience it. And I think that it can be true of a story where you need to not know where it's going to enjoy it. But I think if that's all a movie has going for it, I think that's a bad sign. And so I've generally experienced that it's fine if I know where it's going versus where it's not. Okay. I think The Sixth Sense is a great movie, even though by the time I saw it, I knew what was going to happen in it.
Fair. Also, let it be said, if anyone spoils anything for any movie I haven't seen or show in our Discord, I will...
Yeah, I don't necessarily like knowing what's going to happen in a new piece of media. Because I will say, yeah, I read the Dune book before I saw the movies. But, like, for other things, like, I don't know. It's part of the fun. It's part of the reason that I'm going out of my way to see it in a theater, is to see what happens. So when a 14-year-old on Twitter posts about it, and I see it, and it's something that I either wasn't expecting, or it would have been nice to not know what was going to happen. Like, I'm happy that somehow I avoided any semblance of what the hell was going on in Nope, because that took me over like a year to see. And Top Gun, I'm glad was not spoiled, even though it's like...
What is there to spoil in Top Gun? It's about how if you serve in the Air Force, you will never die and have cool friends.
Alex, it's the Navy.
Anyway, versus, like, I don't give a shit, this has been made clear, about the new Godzilla movies really at all. But, like, the fact that I had no idea that in the last one there was going to be a Mechagodzilla. And I only knew about it because some dork on Twitter posted a picture of the figurine. Like, again...
I thought Mechagodzilla was cool in the last one.
It was! Well, that's why I was bummed. I would have been more excited for it if I didn't know it was coming. Or I'm not excited for it, but it's just like, they didn't advertise it in the trailers. So I wasn't expecting it at all. And then I saw it on Twitter and I was like, oh.
It is a weird...
It is in the trailer, though.
Because...
Well, I didn't see it, whatever.
But there's a weird overlap in that group where it is like, you know, people who are like, oh, I'm really excited to see what's happening and I don't want it spoiled, but also like
they always
people with like toy detective skills, like people who are like, they released this magazine that was only one issue was printed,
an industry
and then immediately destroyed, leaked an image of a Titan that shows up at the end. Here it is in 1080.
Yeah.
The studio system loves all of you. I am the base, right? I consider myself.
I love it. I love to.
Not watch. I will look up the plot summary on Wikipedia, and then if I decide it's a movie I want to see executed, I'll watch it.
Oh God, that's different. You're terrible for that.
And the other thing I want to note is, like, this is not something that I would get angry about or that I felt actually even ever happened, like, in the past. Like, that's why I say this is a distinctly social media thing, that this push towards, like, everyone wants to see it immediately, and then they can't shut up about it. And because like social media is public, it's hard to avoid.
Like this has been going on since like I remember spoiler culture being a massive thing around the Harry Potter book releases when I was not even in high school.
Yeah,
if people care about something, if they're invested in a story, they want to experience it on their terms. It's not. I don't even think it's about being spoiled. It's like, you don't want someone else to dictate how you experience this story. Yeah. If you want to look it up ahead of time, that's your prerogative. Yeah. But if I don't want someone else to do it for me.
Exactly. And in the past, it used to be like, for spoiler things, like, you had to find it. You had to go seek it out. Like, it was much harder to come across it.
I mean, but also I think that, like, the value placed on like that experience is also an incredibly modern one.
Yes, but the only thing we have to experience anymore.
Yeah, which I was about to say, which is like, because everything's been taken from us.
No, exactly, because it's like,
because we're so alienated.
I used to feel zero pressure to see a movie the day it came out. Like, I wanted to like wait a little bit, see what the reviews were, but now it's like, if you wait more than literally 12 hours.
Right. This is exactly what I think is the psyop, though. Is that they want you to not read the reviews, and they want you there immediately so they know how much money they're going to make.
It started because of that. I think they saw it happening and took advantage of it. I'm not saying that it's not happening now. I'm just saying I distinctly remember starting to feel this, like, shortly around / before COVID, where like I started to acutely feel like if I didn't see a movie in the first week, it would be ruined for me because of Twitter.
Let's take it to the species viewer.
Oh, thank God. We've talked.
How did we talk about it for this long?
We didn't. We talked
nothing.
about everything else.
There were little crocodiles
We probably
that
got
lived with
30
it too.
minutes of content on Polacanthus in almost 2 hours of recording. I do like the colors, but man, these don't seem to really match with what the dial is saying.
No, they really, really don't. Let me see. If memory serves, there was a really good one that I liked for Polacanthus. Let me see if I can find it.
I can vibe with this one. Time to rank Polacanthus.
Oh, geez. Oh, boy. It's time to rank Polacanthus, everybody. Aren't we excited?
I don't like that it looks like, you know, in cooking shows when they like break the lobster in half to separate the front part from the tail. That's all I can think about with this thing because of the seam. Like,
have you never cooked prepped a lobster before?
I am from the Midwest. We have freshwater fish primarily, but also I am from middle class, lower middle class ? We do not make lobster at home.
Alex, this has to have been a bit, right? This is so funny for you to just
you
be
guys
like, wait, have you never cooked lobster?
You boil them in a pot. It's not like fancy, but you need them break twist.
They're expensive.
Lobsters
They're really
are very
expensive, Alex.
And also, I am from a part of the country that does not have easy access to them. So, like,
they're expensive when they're not here.
You guys have like little ones. You got like crawdads.
It's one lobster, Michael. How much could it cost?
I mean, you don't. I'm not from the South. Like, let me be clear. We have seafood. We have fresh seafood, but it is more expensive because it's a different part of the country. A, B, like, no, it's a restaurant experience type thing.
I understand.
I've had lobster literally twice in my life. Once,
really?
Yes. Once someone bought it, and it was at a family function, and I tried it. And then the other time was when we were visiting the East Coast like 2 years ago. My mom got a lobster roll, and I tried a bit of it.
Have you had scallops?
No.
Oh my God.
Those are like, we can get those. That's just a me thing because I'm very particular about seafood. So for me, a scallop,
they're like the best meat.
They look very good like on cooking shows. So I would like
you gotta try them.
I think they're mid.
Here's the problem.
Scott, where are you from?
Born in California, but
you should have better opinions about seafood then.
No, I think that I like my seafood to have a bit more flavor to them, and I think a lot of scallops are a little on the less flavorful side.
A good scallop is sweet.
It's a very subtle flavor. I like stronger flavors in my seafood. Like, I don't think they're bad. I don't think that a lot of the time they're worth the price.
Well, so
until my friend who's a chef out here took me to he showed I'm saying things that would make Alex not hate me, but he has his headphones off.
Sorry, I was fixing my hair.
My friend who's a chef out here showed me some that were the size of a like jumbo marshmallow and were some of the greatest things I've ever had.
So again, I like, because they're expensive, it's the same thing with lobster. Like, it's something that, because I know myself and I know I'm particular about seafood, I'm not going to waste money to buy them and try them if I don't like them. You know,
fair.
So if someone else that I am with gets one at some point, I'll try them. But like,
would I be putting myself farther in a hole if I say that, you know, often we would just paddle out to the lobster trap we used?
No, that's different. That's a different thing entirely.
That's blue collar coded. Yeah.
It's not in your case.
It's not.
Right.
Because you have to pay for the.
You have to pay for the permit.
Yeah.
No, but that's.
What about caviar, Amelia?
No.
Wait, you don't spread caviar in your toast?
On my avocado.
I don't really like caviar, if I'm being honest.
It's
fine.
bad.
It's just very salty.
There are two kinds of people in the call. The kinds who are like, I haven't had caviar. And the kinds who are like, it's bad.
First time I had it was at the AMH, though.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, sorry to so derail you ranking this.
No, it's okay.
Seafood
It's
discussion.
very funny, but
that was just it's the funny. You know, Alex, you're pretty good at blending in, and so
I've been told that. Yeah,
the couple of moments where it like really
mask off
are just so funny.
Yeah. All right, you got me.
But I am going to insist that we rank.
I'm sorry. So to get back to my point, which I tried to make, and then we got derailed by Literally, I believe probably the strongest dichotomy of lifestyle in this group.
I think so, yes.
Anyway, I hate this so much. I just, like I said, it feels incomplete, and like this is not a fault on the game. This is just this animal. I don't like it. I was trying to look up, pictures of the fossil and paleo art and that kind of stuff, and it just doesn't look good. Nothing helps it. And this model makes it worse by like literally the visible seam that is a void, and like it kind of phases when it turns. It's garbage. I hate it. I don't totally hate the back half of it, which I think is like in the spirit of whatever this weird monster is, and more quote unquote accurate than the front half, because the front half has the gross segment thing happening. But it's a horrible animal. I don't like it. Accuracy aside, this design, as in the natural design, which is not a real thing, disgusting. It's a C. I don't like it. It's not it is not a D. It's not ugly per se, but it's off-putting. So C for can't stand it.
Wow.
I'm gonna give it a B. It's fine. I think it's a fairly decent job reconstructing the animal. The only aspect of it I don't really like are the legs feel a little bit spore-like, kind of in the same way that Ankylosaurus did to me. With that said, I don't dislike this design very much. I just find it kind of uninspiring, so I'm going to go with a B.
Wow, everyone's so critical.
And I'm going to give it an A. I think that it is a really, really good, like, I love putting it in my parks. I love putting it in there specifically with Iguanodon, giving it the Walking with Dinosaurs vibes. It makes for a very pretty exhibit. And like, I'll kind of push back against the spore legs thing. I think that the legs on this one look kind of okay. Yeah, the feet are still screwed up like they always are, but like, I think that this is a really good depiction of Polacanthus, minus like knock off those spikes on the sacral shield. But I like it. I enjoy it. I'll give it an A.
The based Polacanthus enjoyer.
Indeed. Dino's on a half shell.
I'm gonna be quick in that I'm going to say that seafood really is kind of the best regional. Like, it's like it's so much. No, this is not a disagreement.
Oh my God! No, don't fight immediately. Holy!
It's an A. I did that mostly to upset Scott. Yeah, it's an A. I think this is a handsome young man. It's one of my preferred ankylosaurs in the game. And it's from a coastal region, which means that it's better than, perhaps like an inland ankylosaur.
Look,
Anyway, now I'm ending this by transitioning immediately to Dalton.
All right, I'm going to pick it up and run with it. I came into the video thinking I might give this an S because I like it a lot. I like Polacanthus. I think I've learned I like looking at it from a distance a bit more. Like, at a distance, this really does a great job of evoking Polacanthus, and like putting it in an enclosure when you only see it like maybe this close to like that. Like, it's great. I have some nitpicks with it, like the sacral. Actually, I shouldn't really be like, oh, I've always thought this, because I really only noticed it today, which is that it has the spikes on the side of the sacral shield. I wish it didn't have those, and I wish it didn't do the big kind of plates. It's not as bad as in Ankylosaurus, but it's a little bit worse than in Minmi, I think, just in terms of how they've kind of segmented it. Like, they don't look quite like the big rigid plates of Ankylosaurus, but they're definitely more rigid and less just like grooves in the skin. I don't love that compared to like looking at the Walking with Dinosaurs model, which is, I think, still kind of peak Polacanthus.
Really is.
So I think I'm torn between like low A and high B, honestly. And I think I'll give it an A because I like its sounds. And I do like it.
King.
All right, so that's a C, a B.
3 A's.
Alex, what'd you give it?
A.
And two
Three
A's.
Didn't you give it an A?
3 A's. Yeah, I did.
I think the A's have it.
I think the A's do have it.
Let's check. Oh, so they just signed me out. All right. Well, that's not getting resolved tonight.
Oh, lovely. But what is getting resolved tonight is we are putting Polacanthus up an A
Hot
tier.
dog.
Oh, with its friends, the iguanodons. And now it is time.
I'm so excited to see you spin that wheel.
To
Spin the wheel.
spin
That
wheel.
wheel.
Let's
Round and
go.
round and round it goes. Where will it land? I know.
No, it's a
Do
surprise. You can't know.
No, you're.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Is this only our second?
I think it is our
hatch
second
that we've
Yes.
done?
Probably starting a long train.
Oh my god. Probably.
Cool.
Well, with that, I think we need to take pity on Alex and thank our patrons.
It's Centausaurus
before-
time.
Because it's Centausaurus time, and we kind of need to do that video right now. So, thank you to our patrons, including Benjamin Seepser, nickname Philip Fico, AK92, Christopher Bellis-Jones, Adam Ullos, Ben Brocklehurst, Dan O'Kyrus, King Zashu, Max Ironpaw, original username Pythonic Wanderer, and Wheat.
Hot dog.
Thank you all so much. Thank you to all of our patrons for your support. We are not rushing through this because we don't care about you. We're rushing through this because we're tired. And we're developing new white hairs in our beards. I counted 3 before when I went to the bathroom. So
Jeez.
we're going to see if we can pump those
I don't
numbers
have
up.
any, so
Good for you. You're not a postdoc yet.
no, this is true.
It's coming. Anyway, thank you guys all very much. We'll see you next week with Centausaurus. And if you're watching this video on Saturday, April 6th, and you have no plans for Sunday, April 7th, come to the Midwest Gaming Classic in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and see 4
price
hours
on
the
Sunday.
5 of us. It's half price on Sunday. Hot dog. You should go. Smash
That means you
like
can-
I'm
means
closing
you
the
can-
recording.
That means you can spend the equivalent amount for the ticket price on Skeleton Crew merch.
Yes, we will
Please.
never do a live event again if we are
don't
financially
break
ruined
even.
by this. Please help us. All right, anyway, we're going to record our next video now. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.